Hi everyone, Lana Elko is here, and today we're going to discuss how to turn rejection into your power and actually feel excited about the situation when you are afraid to be rejected. Sounds a bit crazy, but let's dive in and explore. Rejection is one of the strongest and the most deepest fears we have. And it's also the most common fear that almost everybody in their life at some point felt fear of rejection, right? Or experienced rejection that created that negative memory about this experience that makes us feel afraid to try something, to be bold, to speak our truth, to show up in a certain way, right? Because of that fear of rejection. Actually, I want to take you on this journey and show you that it's not about you at all. It's not about you at all, and it is connected with our natural instincts, and it's connected with our desire to belong to our environment, like to the society, to the tribe, to a certain group of people, to our family, to our relationships, right? When we look back into the history, we see that human beings used to live in tribes. It was a tribal life where we practiced interdependency, right? It was easier to survive in the tribe, and everybody had a certain role in the tribe. So when somebody was kicked out of the tribe, they were exposed to more danger, and in most cases that person wouldn't survive on their own because it was really hard, right? So that is a deeper experience that our ancestors had that developed that natural deep instinctive desire to belong and to be part of something, right? So we're not alone, so we can survive. So on that level we all share it, and it's not even coming from your ego or your personal wounding, right? It's very important to understand that and release that responsibility from your shoulders and blaming yourself for experiencing fear of rejection. Now, when we look on the personal level, we have two different types of people. One type of people completely consistently experience unworthiness, right? It's something like a deep childhood wound. There are multiple reasons to develop that, but this is when people question their value and their worth, right? They're constantly comparing themselves and their value with people around them, right? And always doubting, always questioning if they are good enough. That's the question they ask themselves the most, right? So that wounding generates lots of fear of rejection and really holds us back from showing up the way we are in our authentic self, right? We tend to avoid when we experience this unworthiness, right? When it becomes really loud, especially when we're down, right? We experience a lot of fear of rejection, and it's almost on a daily basis, whether it's in relationship, at work, and any roles that we're playing in the society. And what we do unconsciously, we're trying to adapt to our environment so we are accepted and we are loved and we're not rejected. So we're trying to learn how it works, and like basically learning how to please other people so they like you, to say what they want to hear, you know, really hiding your true personality, hiding your truth, and sometimes even completely disconnecting from our own truth, right? And most people who experience this unworthiness and really strong fear of rejection, most of the time they haven't done enough of inner work, because when you dwell on this external level and when you can discern what are your values, your personal values, your personal beliefs on the spiritual, emotional, intellectual level, maybe also disconnected from your body. You just absorb what you learn from your upbringing and education and the situations that happened in your childhood, right? You hold on to those, but this is just external, very kind of shallow level. Because of pain and fears, we don't allow ourselves to go deeper and look like, what do we want to believe? We do have this free will and free choice. We can choose what we want to believe and what we don't want to believe. So there is really deep work required to really heal that unworthiness wound within ourselves. And it's another big topic to discuss. I want to shift to the second type of personality, right, that I mentioned. And that is people with non-belonging. Basically, the difference between people who experience unworthiness and people who experience non-belonging, at the end, they arrive to the same place. So it doesn't really matter then. Yes, the roots are different, their reasons are different, but at the end, they still arrive to the place where they're afraid to show up in their full potential with who they are, because they fear rejection, because they fear that they will not be accepted by the environment, by a man in relationship, by your boss at your work, by your parents. We still have that because we still, no matter how, we can thrive on our own, in our own bubble of reality, but we still have need to socialize, to connect, to belong and co-create with others. This is who we are, right? We're communal beings. So people with non-belonging, usually they don't feel really unworthy about themselves because they have really strong connection with their spirit, with their higher self, with their inner guidance. They have their own inner reality. And usually these people are outsiders, introverts, like creative people. They just dwell in a different reality. However, they can't really completely isolate themselves, right? So they need to connect with the environment, with the society, with a group of people. They want to have relationship, intimate relationships as well. They want to understand their family, right? Be accepted by their family. But because they feel different, or they can barely relate to how people live in the society, what their bringing education teaches us, how people relate to each other, like they feel they can't really relate to that. So they feel a bit lost, and they still unconsciously, we're still trying to adapt to our society, to our environment, to our relationships, so we have at least some kind of connection. So that makes us behave the same way. We go into people pleasing. We tell them what they want to hear. We, develop relationships that, look good on the surface, but it's empty inside. So there's no connection. So it doesn't really allow us to go deep and express ourselves fully and feel loved and connected and accepted as well. So we arrive to the same place. Now, everything we do, it's come kind of from this unconscious desire to belong and to be accepted and loved for both type of personalities. And when we do this, we find ourselves in a place that is extremely unsatisfying, extremely unfulfilling, and we feel, even if in one particular situation, if you say something nice to the person just to be nice, and you don't really share the truth, you avoid vulnerable situations when you show up and say your truth, right? So what happens in the long run, that you just keep doing it, and then you feel disconnected because another person, what happens, another person is doing the same. If you have something in common, right? Let's look at the relationship with men. You like each other, you feel there is potential, but if we do this pattern, if we follow this pattern of connecting from this shallow, inauthentic place, right? Tell them what they want to hear, just please them, just cover it all up, adapt, right? Like we can just avoid going deep. At the end, it's gonna fall apart, and we all know that. And it's either we are going to be rejected, or another person will feel rejected by us, because we don't exercise our truth. We don't exercise our right to have free will, right? A free choice. I can say yes or no, right? And for many people, hearing no, it's a rejection, right? And that is not okay, because it's not really healthy to receive any situation where you hear no as a rejection. So unconsciously we do that, and that brings us in a very unpleasant and unfulfilling place. And we feel we might develop this feeling of consistent rejection, like we don't connect, nobody likes us, they don't want to see who we are, and we start believing it, and we're feeling that, and we find ourselves living in that reality, right? But there is always opportunity to shift that. And that requires beforehand that inner work that I mentioned, when you really separate yourself from all the values on the spiritual, moral level, on a societal level, the traditional level, and you decide for yourself what works for you, what are your deepest heart desires, how you want to connect and relate. And when you find your own truth and you kind of create that image, create that vision of what you want, right? You stay loyal to that beforehand. You stay loyal to that, and you don't allow this internal rejection to happen. You don't reject yourself. You don't reject your authentic self, right? When you arrive to this solid place, then the next step you give yourself permission to do is to go and connect with people from that place. And what is important when you make that second step, right, is to accept a the situation of potential rejection, something that you used to see as rejection. You accept it already when you go and stretch yourself and go take a risk, be vulnerable, speak your truth, connect with people from the place of who you really are. With men, connecting with the place, from the place, well, this is who I am, right? This is how I feel. This is how I see you. This is my perception of you. This is my perception of relationship. And you show up and share that, from the place of love, but at the same time from the place of fear is love, right? Without any sugar covering. And that is the most beautiful thing you can do for yourself, even if another person is not ready to face the truth and hear your truth, and they might feel rejected or judge or whatever. But that is the most beautiful thing you can do for yourself. And then you start exercise this situation and seeing that this situation as an opportunity to grow in your power, expressing your power, expressing your truth, right? So, and from that place, everything will shift at some point. Everything will shift. You will attract people who believe in the same thing. You will attract people who understand you. You will attract people who adore you the way you are. And they will want to co-create relationships, businesses, partnerships, whatever, together. I want to share with you one story that from my very early youth, and that was about my first romantic relationships. And I want to demonstrate for you how it works, how to turn that feeling of rejection and fear of rejection into your power, right? So I will share with you this example. So when I was 20, I met this cute young man, and he was like a little bit even younger than me, and I kind of had the late start. So this when I started dating at 20, like more seriously dating. So he was my first boyfriend, and we started to see each other, and he liked me a lot, and he was saying really great things about me. It's like, wow, this is really cool, and I liked him, so it was going well. But at some point I started to feel something was off, and I was still trying to move through it and talk through it, and still working on the relationship. And what happened to him, he just decided to disappear. So he basically ghosted me and disappeared, didn't talk to me, didn't call me, didn't respond to my calls. So my first reaction at the time, being a young adult, also I felt hurt. I felt rejected. I felt, this emotional pain. And I didn't know how to relate, how to fix it. I didn't know how to navigate the situation. So I just kind of like, okay, that's what it is. And like, I don't want anything like that anymore. So I could probably dwell on this, unworthiness, non-belonging, like misunderstanding, or maybe he didn't like me. I could give myself this negative self-talk. But even at that time, I had this deeper wisdom, right? And I have these non-belonging things, like, well, I don't think he even understands who I am, right? So what I did, I shifted my focus on that time, and it's like, well, if that relationship caused me so much and negative emotions, I will focus on something that I really love to do. And I discovered skydiving. At the time, and it took over all my life. Like, I really got so passionate, so obsessed with skydiving. I spent all my weekends at the drop zone and made amazing new friends where I felt we can connect on a deeper level, authentic level, and we have a lot in common. And I just spent all my money, and that was my world, right? That's what I wanted, and it really filled me up from within, and it also helped me to release some negative emotions through, extreme sports, through, working with my body in this extreme way, right? So after a year, I became a more or less confident skydiver, and I completely transformed my personality. I became so much more fun, so much lighter, so much more social, because I made these friends who are like me. Developed better sense of humor. I started to flirt for fun. I had lots of attention from men because it was like more masculine sport, more men than women, and I really had a great life. And my business started to pick up, and I changed my style. I cut my hair, I completely transformed. And I remember I was walking on the street at that time in the evening, and I felt like somebody's following me, and I looked back, and it was that ex-boyfriend that hosted me and ignored me, kind of like at that time. So but at that moment, I was so excited about who I am in my life. I had no negative leftovers from that situation. I didn't feel any pain. I was like, oh, okay, he's here. So he started to talk to me, and I started to talk to him kind of in a friendly way. And then he kept calling me, and he kept showing up. He kept inviting me, and I was a bit reluctant because, like, wow, well, this dude hosted me, and now he wants to see me again. I don't trust him anymore. But at some point, he was so persistent, I decided to challenge him, and I decided to invite him to skydive. It's like, okay, if he's really want to be even my friend, he has to have the, like, at that time, that was my world, right? That was everything. And I don't think at the time he was even thinking about skydiving. That was not his original desire. So that was kind of a big stretch, that he was not planning to do it. But because he liked me so much, and because he was, wanted to show that he's a man and he has courage, he actually came and he jumped out of the plane with me. So that had lots of meaning for me, because that was my biggest passion, right? So it's like, oh, maybe I should look at him again, So actually that situation and his persistence and his consistency really, I kind of gave him a second chance. And after that, we've been dating like for several years, and it was my first long term relationship. At some point I broke up with him because I felt, I was not ready for serious, like I was not ready to get married or anything like that. And also he was not, and skydiving was not his his first choice and his passion. So, but you can see how you can turn it all around, and it can completely flip as soon as you own your power, as soon as you see that any situation that you face and you see is a rejection can serve you to grow deeper and understanding of who you are, and can serve you to challenge yourself enough so you can go back into the world, connect with people from that place of authenticity, be really fierce about it. And really, at that time, I would just dismiss anybody who didn't feel good to me, right? I was a bit maybe I didn't have enough of communication skills and emotional intelligence, but what I chose to be, at least be loyal to myself, what feels right to me. So that was that I was focusing on at the time, right? And you can see how it can flip completely the opposite way, and it's all inside, right? So I wanted to mention the definition of rejection. Rejection means in Latin to throw back, right? Refusal, non-acceptance, declining, and dismissal. Spurring of a person's affection. That's another thing I wanted to mention today, right? When we feel fear of rejection, we're really afraid to speak our truth or be vulnerable. Let's say I like somebody or I'm loving somebody. I'm afraid to share my true feelings with them because I'm afraid that they don't feel the same way. Or they feel something different but less than I feel, right? Or they might say like, I'm not interested. They might say no to me, or they might be mean to me. Like I expose myself by having a desire to share my feelings and open up with that person that potentially can bring us to a deeper connection. Maybe they will open up as well. There is an opportunity to connect on a deeper level. At the same time, the fear is also there that what if not? What if they don't care about me? What if they, in love with somebody else? What they would laugh at me? What if they ridicule me, right? We have all these fears that most of the time hold us back to show up in a very open and authentic way and share our vulnerabilities, right? When we watch movies, we love those characters who do this. But in real life, most people don't have courage to show up this way, right? So we're kind of playing games with each other. We're kind of dancing around and checking on each other, not saying the truth. And many times we're not even capable to connect on a deeper level and have that deeper level of intimacy that we all crave, especially women. We are designed to have this craving for deeper connection, deeper intimacy, emotional intimacy. And emotional intimacy, what is that? It is the vulnerability. It's being able to be completely open, honest, vulnerable with your partner. That brings you together, right? And be received and receive from him. So, but we're terrified to go there, first because of our upbringing education. We don't have many real role models in our life. That maybe your parents have some superficial relationship where they pretend they're just a habit to live together. It's just about security. It's about children. You don't feel they have deep connection with each other. They don't feel they're vulnerable and intimate with each other. So you don't see it in the society. You had probably, when you started your life, started dating, had negative experience with men, that maybe your vulnerability was used against you. So you decided to never open up again, right? So all of these experiences, all of this, it really feeds that fear of rejection. So to overcome that, we first need to accept ourselves and not to reject our true nature, to really understand like what do we want and who we are. And from that place, we can finally step forward in our external life, in our relationships, and take that risk, challenge yourself. No, I'm gonna go and I will share from my heart. I will share about things of how they really are, right? Not how they should be. That's something that we do all the time. We're trying to put our relationships in the box of shoulds. It should be this way, so I will pretend that I feel this way. Well, no, that's not how it works. It's all upside down. That's why most people have miserable relationships. Shallow, they feel unfulfilled, they don't feel heard or seen, they don't feel received, they don't receive love. All of that is so common, right? Most people live that way. So if you want to have that courage to receive what you truly desire, the deeper intimacy, deeper connection, an opportunity to be with somebody on a level that most people will never allow themselves, that's the way to go. Doing your inner work, accepting yourself, not rejecting your truth within yourself. But then that's unworthiness, people, right? Accepting yourself and loving yourself and finding the deeper truth about your values and beliefs, and separating all the social conditioning, whatever you learned from your parents. If you don't like something what your parents were teaching you, you do have the right to say no to that and develop your own belief system. And then non-belonging people, they kind of feel good about themselves. It's about connection when it's off, right? Yeah, I have so much, that's my situation. I feel, oh, I love my inner world. I can spend so much time on my own. I can write, I can read, I can meditate, I go to the forest, I can pray, I can, you know, have mystical experiences. But then when it comes to connection and relationship, this is where I was stuck. And this is what I closed myself. You know, it's a work in progress, but my tendency was to close myself and hide, not to show my inner world to anybody else. But that's the best thing about me. So the courage was about taking that step forward and showing up and really practicing speaking my truth, the way I see it, the way I feel it, the way I perceive it about myself and my relationships and my connections. You know, speaking that truth, no matter how I will be received. I already accept a potential rejection situation, right? And it happens, if you look at it, it happens every day. Like somebody says no to you, like some people see it as a rejection. I don't see it. I see it as a practicing free will. But many people don't want to hear no, you know, so we're playing this game, and then we're afraid to say no to somebody else because we think, oh, they will feel rejected, so we will feel hurt with that feeling. So we live in this inauthentic environment, and it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make anybody happy. So committing to that courage, committing to making that step forward, even if it feels awkward. Like I remember I felt really awkward in terms of like showing up and like all my internal world inside of me. I can't even find words to express it. But I stretched beyond my comfort zone and it felt awkward, but I still showed up and was trying to speak my truth the way I could at the time. With time, I developed a better way to express myself. I became, you know, now I watch my videos, I like myself. I feel I translate what's going on within me pretty well. Of course, it's not all, there's so much more out there, but that's my gift. This is who I am, right? This is my soul purpose. And from this place, I can connect with people who understand me and who can relate to me. And I want those people around. I don't want people who have, you know, who want to reject me or they don't connect with me. Like, okay, I don't want to connect with them either. I can be curious about them. I can learn from them. I can see the situation when they potentially reject me as an opportunity to understand their motivation, their insecurities, their where they come from, what's going on with them. If I don't have my own cloud of confusion and emotionally charged space of me being heard by somebody who said no, or didn't understand me, or, you know, used my vulnerabilities against me. They can't really do that when you in your power. They can try, but you don't allow yourself to go there. You don't feel it anymore. You don't get triggered with that. So you keep exercising your power. If somebody doesn't understand you, fine. If somebody says no to you, fine. You have your own power. You develop then better relationships with other people who do understand you, right? And that applies to relationship with men tremendously, because, you know, if we really want real stuff, we have to take a risk every day. It's like, it is a bit heartbreaking. It's every day practicing that power, every day facing that potential rejection, every day, you know, risking your relationships to stay loyal to yourself and your own truth, speaking that truth, you know, bringing it up, you know, opening it up, like staying open. Yes, maybe it will not work, but at least I do my best to show up in my authentic self and speak my truth, and, you know, not to be afraid of rejection. So I hope this video was helpful, and at the end, I really recommend you to do some journaling practice and really look at your own fear of rejection and the past situations when you felt rejected by somebody and how it affected your life, how it affects you still today. And you can ask yourself the following questions. Well, first, how do you identify that situation when you felt rejection, right? You write it down, remind yourself, what was it? Then remember if you had any fears before that situation showed up for you. Remember how you felt. Did you have fears about being rejected? How did you show up in that situation? Were you like all consumed by fear? You were trying to adapt, or you were trying to please somebody, you were trying to be nice so they like you? Like, just remember how you felt just before that. Then look at the situation when it happened. Like, oh, that happened. Like, it always gives us this kind of icky feeling, right? It's like, oh my God, like I feel so horrible now after you experience that rejection, that you felt it's rejection. And really look at that, how you felt, right, inside of yourself. And then remember, and look at the situation. How did you respond to that rejection, right? What did you do? What was your response or reaction, right? So you write that down, and then you look really inside of yourself and you work with this emotional informations. Like, you can ask, my favorite question that's from transpersonal psychology is, have I felt this before? And when was the first time I felt this way, right? So you look at, like, that was not the first time when you felt rejected. That was not was the first time when you had fear. If you had fear of rejection, you already experienced rejection before. So tracking it all down and understanding where it comes from, then connecting it was also with our collective consciousness, understanding we all feel this way, and what you can shift about your beliefs about yourself, that you don't feel this way anymore, because it doesn't even belong to you, right? Finding your deeper truth. When you find your deeper truth of who you are, what are your beliefs, what are your desires, what are your values, then you hold on to them, and you don't, these are your roots that don't allow you to be shaken by potential rejection. So you can journal about that. And then after you process your thing, you remove the cloud of emotional confusion from your vision, and then this is an opportunity to really understand the person who you believed rejected you in that situation, right? So when you remove your own cloud of emotional confusion about your hurt feelings, now you can clearly, and you discover your truth, you can clearly see what was going on with that person. You can see their energy, you can see their feelings, emotions. You might see their deeper motivation, why they did that. You can see their own insecurities. You can really see so much when you're not confused with your own emotional turbulence. And then you can understand maybe on a deeper level, well, they have very similar experience. They maybe even felt rejected as well when they made a story about you and them and their relationship, whatever it is, and understanding where do they come from, what kind of beliefs are they leaning on when they choose to act in a certain way. So that will really help you to gain deeper understanding and clear your space from all this, crazy material that we don't need anymore. We need to process and release that. And then we can cultivate that power. No, I still want authentic connection. No, I still want powerful, truthful relationship, and I want still to be in my power, even if somebody potentially can reject me, right? We don't even use that word. When we in our power, nobody can reject us. It's only up to us. Only ourselves can reject ourselves, right? So this is what I wanted to share with you today. If you have any questions, if you have any insights, comments, I would be excited to hear from you. And if you want personal support and guidance on your journey and working through your own fear of rejection, I'll be happy to support you. Reach out. I'll be happy to talk to you.